In the unsettling event of a nuclear emergency, whether from a power plant accident or the detonation of a weapon, the air can become filled with invisible dangers. One of the most significant of these is a substance called radioactive iodine, specifically an isotope known as iodine-131. This is a byproduct of nuclear fission and can travel for hundreds of miles on the wind before settling on the ground, contaminating water, soil, and the food chain. Because it is invisible, tasteless, and odorless, people can easily inhale it or consume it in food and water without ever knowing they have been exposed to this silent threat, which poses a unique and targeted danger to a small but vital gland in your neck. The thyroid gland, a small butterfly-shaped organ located at the front of your neck, plays a crucial role in regulating your body's metabolism, growth, and development. To function properly, it needs to absorb iodine from the things we eat and drink. The problem is that your thyroid cannot tell the difference between the stable, safe iodine it needs and the dangerous radioactive iodine released during a nuclear incident. When radioactive iodine enters your bloodstream, your thyroid will eagerly absorb it, concentrating this harmful material in one place and setting the stage for significant cellular damage from the inside out. Once radioactive iodine has accumulated in the thyroid, it begins to emit damaging radiation, primarily in the form of beta particles. This radiation bombards the delicate cells of the gland, disrupting their DNA and normal functions. In the short term, a very high dose of exposure can lead to a painful inflammation of the gland called thyroiditis, or it can even destroy the thyroid tissue altogether, leading to a condition called hypothyroidism, where the gland can no longer produce the hormones your body needs to survive. This internal localized radiation is what makes radioactive iodine so particularly insidious. In the long term, the effects can be even more devastating. The cellular damage caused by the radiation significantly increases the risk of developing thyroid cancer, often many years after the initial exposure occurred. This risk is not the same for everyone. Children, teenagers, and pregnant or breastfeeding women are the most vulnerable. Their thyroid glands are more active and therefore absorb iodine at a higher rate, making them more susceptible to the carcinogenic effects of radioactive iodine. The devastating rise in childhood thyroid cancer cases seen after the Chernobyl disaster in 1986 serves as a stark reminder of this specific and preventable danger. Faced with such a specific threat, the solution is thankfully just as specific and remarkably simple. The protective measure comes in the form of a pill called potassium iodide, often abbreviated as KI. These are not vitamin supplements. They are stable, non-radioactive iodine salt tablets that contain a very high concentration of safe iodine. The purpose of these tablets is not to treat radiation damage, but to prevent it from happening in the first place by using a clever biological trick. The entire strategy revolves around giving the thyroid gland exactly what it wants, but in a safe form, before the dangerous version has a chance to be absorbed. The protective mechanism is called iodine thyroid blocking or saturation. Think of your thyroid gland as a car park with a limited number of spaces reserved for iodine vehicles. When you take a potassium iodide tablet, you are essentially flooding your system with a massive convoy of safe iodine cars. These cars rush to the thyroid and fill up every single available parking space. By the time the harmful radioactive iodine cars arrive, there is simply no room for them to park. The gland is completely saturated with the stable, harmless iodine it needs, and it cannot absorb anymore. With the thyroid gland fully saturated and unable to take in any more iodine, the dangerous radioactive iodine that you may have inhaled or ingested is left with nowhere to go. It cannot accumulate in the thyroid, which is its primary target in the body. Instead, it continues to circulate harmlessly in the bloodstream for a short period. Because it cannot find a home in the thyroid, the body's natural filtration systems, primarily the kidneys, will identify it as a waste product and efficiently flush it out of your system, usually through urine, over the next day or two. This simple act of taking a pill effectively renders the radioactive iodine harmless to the thyroid, preventing both the immediate damage of thyroiditis and the long-term risk of developing cancer. It is one of the most effective known countermeasures for a specific type of radiation exposure. It provides a powerful shield for this vulnerable gland, demonstrating how a well-understood biological process can be used to defend the body against a modern technological threat. The protection offered by a single dose is robust, typically lasting for at least 24 hours, which is usually long enough to get through the most dangerous period of exposure. While potassium iodide tablets are a powerful tool, their effectiveness is critically dependent on several factors. Most importantly, the timing of when they are taken. For the best possible protection, the tablets should be taken just before or within a few hours of exposure to a radioactive cloud. Taking them ahead of time allows the stable iodine to reach the thyroid and saturate it before the radioactive iodine arrives. If taken a few hours after exposure begins, it can still help by blocking the uptake of any further radioactive iodine, but it cannot reverse any damage from the iodine that has already been absorbed by the gland. Public health officials will provide specific instructions during an emergency, and it is vital that these tablets are only taken when you are explicitly told to do so. They are not a general preventative measure to be taken just in case. The target groups for these tablets are primarily media group of children, infants, and teenagers with parent in medical clinic, pediatrician holding potassium iodide tablets at its stock at it distribute_equally, infants, children, adolescents, and pregnant or breastfeeding women, as they are at the highest risk of developing thyroid cancer from exposure. For adults over the age of 40, the risk of developing thyroid cancer from radioactive iodine is much lower, while the potential for side effects from the tablet itself is higher. Therefore, it is generally not recommended for this age group unless the expected radiation dose is extremely high. Like any medication, potassium iodide can have side effects, although they are generally rare and mild for most people when taken as a single dose. Some individuals might experience media group, person experiencing upset stomach at home, close-up of skin rash on arm or hand at its stock at it distribute_equally, an upset stomach, skin rashes, or inflammation of the salivary glands, which can cause swelling and tenderness in the cheeks. People with pre-existing thyroid conditions or a known allergy to iodine should consult a doctor before taking the tablets, as they may be at a higher risk of more serious adverse reactions. The decision to take the tablets is always a balance of risk versus benefit, guided by official advice. It is crucial to follow the prescribed dosage. A single dose is typically all that is needed to protect the thyroid for about 24 hours. Taking more than the recommended dose does not offer more protection and significantly increases the risk of serious side effects, including severe disturbances to the thyroid's normal function. Health authorities will provide clear guidance on dosage, which often varies by age, with children requiring smaller doses than adults. Adhering to these official instructions is the safest and most effective way to use this important emergency countermeasure. It is absolutely essential to understand what potassium iodide tablets do not do. These pills are not a magic bullet against radiation. Their protective action is highly specific. They only protect the thyroid gland from radioactive iodine. They offer no protection whatsoever to any other part of the body, such as the bones, blood, or other organs. A nuclear event releases a cocktail of different radioactive elements, including dangerous substances like cesium-137 and strontium-90, which can cause severe health problems, including acute radiation syndrome and various cancers. Potassium iodide has no effect on these other threats. Furthermore, Ki tablets only protect against internal exposure, that is, radioactive iodine that is breathed in or swallowed. They do nothing to protect you from external radiation. In a nuclear emergency, gamma radiation can travel through the air and penetrate buildings, harming the entire body from the outside. Radioactive particles can also settle on your skin, hair, and clothes, causing radiation burns. The only way to protect against these external threats is by following the primary safety advice. Get inside, and stay tuned. Shielding your body with dense materials like concrete and brick is the most effective defense against external gamma radiation. For this reason, potassium iodide tablets should be seen as just one small component of a much broader emergency response plan. The most important actions you can take to protect yourself and your family are to seek shelter immediately in a sturdy building, preferably in a basement or a central windowless room. Sealing doors and windows and turning off ventilation systems can help prevent radioactive particles from getting inside. You should also listen to emergency broadcasts for instructions on when it is safe to go outside and whether you need to decontaminate by removing outer layers of clothing and washing your skin with soap and warm water. Ultimately, preparedness is a multi-layered strategy. While having a supply of potassium iodide tablets is a sensible precaution, especially if you live near a nuclear power station, it is part of a larger toolkit. Stockpiling long-life food and bottled water is equally critical to avoid consuming anything that might be contaminated. Having a battery-powered radio and a backup power source for your phone ensures you can receive vital information from authorities. True safety in a nuclear emergency does not come from a single pill, but from a combination of sheltering, avoiding contamination, and using specific countermeasures like KI tablets only when officially instructed to do so.